So I'll start off by introducing myself, and then you can introduce a little bit about what you do. So I'm Ivanka. I'm a high school student who's really passionate about sustainability and climate change. And I got interested in the methane space when I did my research projects. The first one was the summer after ninth grade. And so that's when I got really interested in methane. And then I've just been doing it ever since. And then I started my initiative, MethaneMatters, to educate people about methane emissions and where they come from and how to mitigate methane. So this is my fourth podcast in this series, and I have a couple more lined up, so that's exciting. I also published a book, Methane Matters. And so that just got published on Amazon, and the proceeds are going towards the initiative to help raise awareness about methane emissions. Yeah.
Fantastic. Yeah, thank you for that context. And again, I appreciate the opportunity to be on your podcast and do what I can to forward your objective, because like you, I am passionate about educating people on methane emissions and that the impact that they have, certainly in the near term, on our climate.
Yeah. Okay. So my first question for you is, what's your background and how did you get started?
Yeah, it's I've had many years of experience doing lots of different jobs, starting from business background, econ major, MBA, so forth, and variety of jobs in the private sector. But then I embarked on, I guess I had a revelation that I was a mission-driven professional, and thus began my journey for a number of years working on staff at Stanford University. And in that, one of the many careers I had within the university, I had the opportunity to get to know faculty that are now currently a part of the greater Doerr School for Sustainability. And in learning about what they did and also the funding needs and gaps associated with initiatives related to climate, I became passionate about getting the word out more broadly about climate conservation, writ large. And then I was recruited from Stanford to NRDC, Natural Resources Defense Council, which is I guess one of the bedrock NGOs, like sister organizations, EDF, TNC, WWF, who kind of were at the forefront of legally and policy-wise defending our resources, our environment, our climate. And so I got in that role, got a broader view of all things climate, including and biodiversity and conservation and so forth. And that was when I began to understand carbon dioxide emissions, sources, issues, and CO2es, which are all of the types of noxious gases that are really bad for the climate that, as you are quite aware, don't necessarily get the same amount of attention.
Yeah.
And so from that, I'll skip a few. I dived back into the private sector, thinking that private sector innovation and influence might help speed up the pace with which we were moving to help change the pace of, or the trajectory of, climate change. And as part of that, I have been working at a couple of different startups, and one of which was in regenerative ranching. So helping ranchers, primarily in the US, but learn about rotational grazing and the climate and economic, very importantly, economic value in treating the land as it had been when the bison roamed the plains,
Oh,
and they moved rapidly across the plains. And in doing so, many good things happened, but soil health and healthy forage was certainly um, part of that. And with that becomes a greater ability to sequester carbon and healthier soil that requires fewer chemical inputs, just much more productive and climate resilient. So I think that's when I kind of got my taste of, oh, this is cattle, this is ranching, this is what happens in livestock operations. So that helped kind of ground me in the work that we do at ArkeaBio, which I'll get to in a moment. And then my prior role preceding ArkeaBio, I actually worked with hundreds of project developers, like the regenerative ranching one I was describing, conducting climate, carbon reduction, sequestration projects all over the world, engineered, nature-based, you name it. And in doing so, became very aware of the importance of addressing methane, and aware of the variety of solutions that were currently available. Again, whether on the engineered side, reducing gases at refineries, but importantly, practices on farm and the ways that some very innovative project developers were working practically with
yeah.
farmers and ranchers to do their part, but also in doing so, again, creating a healthier ranch that leads to healthier animals and a more economic operation. So I guess all of that culminated then with ArkeaBio. So my current role is Vice President, Business Development. So I am a sales commercialization team of me, myself, and I, but backed by an incredible R&D team of 30, 35 plus people now that are based in Cambridge, Massachusetts. And they are developing the vaccine that reduces methane emissions in cattle, namely beef and dairy to start, but it works for all, or should work for all, ruminants. And that is an incredibly exciting solution. And probably the main reason why I joined, I was captivated by the thought that a simple vaccine that is basically a very well-known, well-used, proven, incredibly safe technology for cattle, for livestock, used worldwide, and applying that technology or that mechanism to a new problem, and a climate, and it becoming a climate solution. And I can talk more about that, but I was captivated by the idea. I thought the team was amazing, and so just jumped on board, and that's where I'm at. But I, again, continue to learn every day about the value of building awareness for and addressing methane. Because it truly is the most powerful, scalable, extensive solution that we have. And in particular, when we talk about livestock methane, that, if we really collectively, aimed our efforts at this particular solution, we could make a huge dent in the trajectory of climate change, and certainly then help create some space and pave the way for other innovations that are coming down the pike.
Yeah, that sounds really exciting. So can you elaborate more on why vaccines are such a great reducer of methane?
Sure. So as I mentioned, the vaccine technology, as a delivery mechanism, is established worldwide. Many people aren't aware of the fact that it is mandated worldwide, many countries, that farmers and ranchers vaccinate their cattle against diseases that harm the health of the animals and people. And so the infrastructure is there, the manufacturing is there. So why not leverage that infrastructure, that technology? In doing that, we aren't contributing more to a GHG footprint. We are simply making use of what is already available. Also, a vaccine is small, and you could put all of the vaccines you might need in a given year to vaccinate all cattle, in a container, right? And you can compare that with some of the other current solutions out there, which are also very effective. They have their place, but they are much larger, heavier, require a lot more extensive implementation. And so we view our solution as being quite climate friendly, and also for the same reasons, very cost effective. So we're talking about dollars per vaccine. And so that's huge. The second really important point about a vaccine is that it is effective for cattle, dairy or beef, that are raised on pasture or range. So those are animals that are not regularly touched by farmers and ranchers. They're just wandering around eating the forage like we hope they do. So, you can give a vaccine, say once every 6 months, in the same cycle that you might be giving other vaccines that you do. So there's no change in farm practice. And so 80% plus of the world's cattle are raised on pasture and range, particularly in areas that, you use the term you'd like, but, developing economies. And so we view our solution as being an equitable, worldwide, applicable solution, because it is lower cost and it works well for the ways that cattle are raised and the way that farmers currently operate. So they don't have to do extra work or pay extra for that. So those are some of the reasons. There are more, but I'll stop there in terms of some of the just basic economics and the scalability and the ability to provide it as a solution to all farmers and ranchers that want to make a difference.
Yeah, that makes sense, that vaccines are pretty convenient for farmers to just use, unlike the other things. And then, so specifically for methane, can you explain how vaccines work a little bit?
Yeah, this is where, it would probably be great to have our head of R&D with us. So I will do my best to explain it in kind of business terms. But we do have more technical information on our website. We have a peer-reviewed paper that we co-wrote with our strategic R&D partner, Texas A&M, who is leading our field trials at their locations, that proves scientifically that a vaccine does reduce methane emissions. So I will direct you to ArkeaBio, ArkeaBio.com, if you would like to learn more. And people are certainly welcome to follow up with me directly afterwards should they have more detailed questions. But to get to your question, as vaccines work, they inject antigens into a living thing, and those antigens create antibodies. A traditional vaccine, as we think about it, which is to prevent disease, will create antibodies that then our body gets used to, producing and gets used to identifying. And therefore, when the disease enters, our bodies or an animal's bodies, our bodies in essence know what to do. So we are not trying to cure a disease. We're just simply using the delivery technology by which you can deliver an antigen using an adjuvant, which is basically the thing that it attaches to that allows it to enter the animal. The vaccine then is delivered into the rumen. And I think many people know that ruminants have a couple of different stomachs, but one of which is the rumen. And the rumen is the place where the really fibrous material starts to get broken down. It's like its own separate gas tank. It doesn't actually interact with the rest of the body. It's kind of its own sealed situation. And that's relevant coming right up. But what lives in the rumen, many things do, but one is the archaea, which is a close cousin of bacteria and a very old, kind of, if you go up to the, genus, order, phylum, it's right up there at the top, and it hasn't changed much in many millennia. Anyway, ArkeaBio are smart organisms, and they use the material that enters the rumen as part of a process by which they make energy. So they are scavengers of sorts, but they're very smart ones. And as part of making that energy, methane so CH4 is a byproduct. So it's just a part of chemistry that is working in the rumen. They are part of that ecosystem. So I should also mention that the vaccine, the antibodies, and the antigen all travel down into the rumen via the saliva in a cattle. Again, little known fact, cattle make liters of saliva per day, like liters and liters, a lot of saliva. So there's ample opportunity to deliver the vaccine into the rumen. So what we are trying to do is the antibodies that are created as a result of the antigens that are introduced, the way those antibodies work is they actually identify the methanogens, and they view them as something that needs to be attacked, basically, right? So, and by attacked, I mean they bind in a way that reduces the methanogen's performance, and that's for a period of time. And so after the vaccine wears off, the rumen is back to where it was before. And because the rumen does not interact with the rest of the body, there isn't necessarily resistance that's built up. It just new methanogens, vaccine, same thing happens. So with same, performance or efficacy. And so when the performance is reduced, what that means is that there is less methane burped out of the cattle. Again, another little known fact, you may know this, but 90% of the methane emitted in cattle comes out as burps versus farts. And so, trying to reduce the burps has some other potential benefits with regard to animal productivity. So this is a concept that has academic logic, but we at ArkeaBio do need to prove and quantify the exact degree with which productivity might be improved with the vaccine itself. So that's to come, but the logic is there, and actually that is why vaccines were thought of, just conceptualized in the first place, which was in the late 80s, early 90s in an academic setting in New Zealand. And again, initially was thought that maybe productivity could be improved by reducing the number of burps, because that energy then could be converted into making more meat and milk if you're not using it to burp. So anyway, it's just sort of an interesting origin. And we obviously hope that that's true, because how great would it be to create a lower carbon intensive cattle while also being more productive? Because if we look at, and again, you may know this or have had other people talk about it, but I believe there is a forecasted increase in demand for food. I think it's about a 50% increase by 2050.
Wow.
And where's that food going to come from, right? And if we also think about the billions of people who live on non-arable land, so they can't farm it. So how do they turn forage we can't eat into something they can? Well, they depend completely on ruminants, and that can be a goat or sheep, but ruminants to turn that forage into something that they can eat. So if there's a way to help make the current number of ruminants both less carbon intensive and more productive, we'd be doing a real service to the world on a couple of different dimensions.
Yeah, that's really exciting that you can encompass all those things with vaccines. Okay, so you're going to New Zealand and India. So what are you doing there?
Good question. I could tell you after, but yes. So there are, this is not going to be news to anyone, but there are areas in the world, countries, regions that have a lot of cattle, ruminants, and certainly have a large number relative to population. And so thinking about those regions where cattle, whether it's dairy or beef, industries are an important part of the country's economy, and also are a place where if you could get started there, you could make a big difference.
Mm-hmm.
Because although I've talked about ArkeaBio's vaccine solution and the economic benefits and so forth, our aim is to be a solution that really makes a difference worldwide. So we got to go where the cattle are, right? And we've got to go to places where there is a focus on that industry. In tandem, and it's great to know that most all countries in the world continue to subscribe to the Paris Agreement and have set climate goals, emissions reduction targets for 2030, 2050, and are making, concerted efforts, a lot of progress toward their targets. For those countries where livestock methane could be a significant, maybe critical way by which they can meet their targets or even surpass them, then we have the potential to offer a great tool or solution for doing so. So again, talking with countries that are motivated to do their part for climate change, that have a number of cattle, and where we might also have a very suitable solution. Again, cattle on pasture and range. Those are some of the areas that are of interest to us, and we hope that we can provide some benefit. So New Zealand then will not surprise you. They are the largest exporter, producer of dairy solids, dairy products to the world. And they are an incredible country that is very motivated and very innovative in how they're approaching their climate targets. So we hope to again, possibly be a part of the solution for both the country, but also the large multinational corporations that have also made very ambitious and worthy emissions reduction goals, who might have dairy or beef in their supply chain. And so we want to make sure that we can help both at the country or government level and very much so at the corporate level as well. So that's New Zealand. And then India, I believe India has the most ruminants, because I'm going to include water buffalo too, but hundreds of millions of ruminants in the country, and have been making strides to be supportive of solutions that improve practices, improve health, nutrition, productivity, and also provide some climate benefit. India too has Paris Agreement goals, and so it's a big country. We are aware that we don't know what we don't know, but are interested and are going there to listen and make an introduction and explore.
Yeah, I think it's great that you're partnering with other countries. So AI is a big technology. So are you using that to improve your research in any way?
Yeah, absolutely. So what the R&D team is doing, I cannot explain in the slightest, but I do know it is very cutting edge biotech. And we do use machine learning and are beginning to implement AI as part of the process, with the aim of speeding up the discovery of those antigens that create the antibodies that do that very specific thing, which is to reduce the performance of methanogens. And so, no small task. And as I'm sure you're aware, AI learns with data, right? It needs data sets by which it can then learn and do what it does after that. Well, we're in a realm where the data, it's still being formed. We're still building those data sets. This is a new solution. There's nothing else out there like it. So we will continue to leverage AI to a greater degree as we have more data, as we do more trials, as we do our R&D, and we can in essence deepen that data set to then leverage AI more, just more thoroughly over time. But it's a really exciting application for this, and I know that, again, Stanford and other places, they are using AI to help speed medical R&D and solution discovery.
Yeah, all the possibilities are really exciting. So I have
exactly.
Yeah. So I have one last question. What advice do you have for high schoolers or people like me who are interested in this space?
That is a great question. And I guess my advice would be, and I'm trying to think of what I told my 3 daughters when they were in high school. And even if I told them something, I should ask them if they actually took it to heart. But I think internal motivation is essential. Like you do need to be passionate about whatever it is you're doing, or whatever it is you think you might want to do, and to become very good at that and really see where you can take yourself there. In doing that, you develop a toolkit, and that toolkit and that expertise might take you in many different directions. So we're approaching methane the way we're approaching it today because of the knowledge we have collectively and the tools that we have collectively, and our growing understanding of its importance and the need to address it. But thinking about the tools that speak to you, or the knowledge base that you want to accumulate that really speaks to your passion, even if it doesn't feel totally on point with methane. It might be just about addressing atmospheric gases generally, or it might be all in on AI and figuring out how to build data sets faster to teach AI to do what it can do best faster. I think that's all good, but the internal motivation needs to be there, and kind of almost thinking beyond today with what you might be able to contribute in a different way that continues to address the problem. But that would be one. And then, like you, Ivanka, you're amazing. Being passionate about something and being willing to get out there and educate others, right, is really important. And in doing that, building community and building collective action, and likewise through collective action and community problem solving, innovation. That's where the sparks lie, right? So there are different ways you can forward it. I guess those would be my two pieces of advice.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, that's all the questions I had. It was really fun to have you on this and talk about all the cool stuff you're doing.
And Ivanka, may I ask you a question?
Sure.
In learning and in your journey, your methane journey, so far, are there some opportunities for people at any age or stage that you've identified that you're hoping to build more awareness for? Things that people can do or consider pursuing? Just curious, what insights maybe you've accumulated on your methane journey.
Yeah. So I really think that everyone should learn about this thing as much as they can. So like my research projects really helped me to dive deep into feed additives and how those reduce methane. And through that, I've learned about other ways to reduce methane and just learning about the issue and ways to solve it, maybe reaching out to like leaders or people that just spreading the word is really helpful. And yeah, building a whole community that cares about a topic is really important too.
Fantastic. Well, I appreciate the work that you're doing, Ivanka. You're blazing the trail, and like you said, you're building awareness, community, and you're also becoming extremely knowledgeable in the field. So kudos to you.
Thanks. Yeah.
Great.